agent in Aussie's group, and I'm here in the Perth office. Today, this live session is about the recent announcements that has been done by WA state nomination. In this video, I will be going through all the requirements and all the different lists that WA state nomination has. And in the end, I will be going through all the queries or the questions that you guys have, which you can write in your list there. Okay, now as you all are aware that WA has made recent announcements about this state nomination criteria. This criteria applies to both 190 as well as 491 applicants. The major changes in this occupation, in this criteria, the state nomination, is that they have introduced one more list as compared to the two lists which were there earlier. And this list does not need any experience, does not need the applicant to have studied in Western Australia or to be living in Western Australia. Okay. Now, I will be talking about the three different criteria which WA state nomination has one by one. The first one is Western Australia state nomination Schedule 1 requirement, or the Schedule 1 occupation list. This occupation list has got the major of the health related occupations. Previously in this list, there were only few occupations of the nurses which were there, and some GP and some specialists. Now they have added more occupations in this one, and they have added majority of all the nurses in this occupation list. So if you talk about registered nurse NEC, registered nurse aged care, mental health, critical care, all the registered nurses are in these occupation list. If your occupation in this list, then you have to meet the criteria, which is firstly, you must have either 1 year of an Australian experience or 3 years of an offshore experience to be invited by WA state nomination. Since this occupation is a level 1 occupation, you must have at least 7 each in English. You need to have skills assessment from ANMAC or from any other relevant body where your occupation is, which must be valid. You also need to have a 12 months of a job offer letter from Western Australia. This job offer letter is a requirement that in future, after the grant of the residency or within the next 3 months, if it has got a start date in it, then your position must start within the next 3 months. Or if it doesn't have got a start date, then it must come into effect after the grant of your permanent residency. There is an additional requirement only for the occupations which are listed in this occupation list as regional only. If in the occupation list, in front of your occupation, it's mentioned as regional only, it says Y in it, which is yes, that you have to meet that requirement, then the job offer contract which you are giving to the state government must be from a regional area. This job offer contract must be for the next 12 months. As we all know, the whole Perth is regional area, but particularly for the state nomination requirement, the Perth metropolitan is not a regional area. There are specified postcodes from where this regional, which is considered as a regional, and Mandurah is not considered for that. It is Bunbury and beyond, which is considered as a regional area for the purpose of the job offer. And this offer needs to be regional only for the applicants where the additional requirement is mentioned in front of their nominated occupation in the list. If it is not mentioned, then your job offer contract still needs to be for the 12 months, but can be from the metropolitan area. For example, in the registered nurses, all the registered nurses are considered as regional applicant where they have to get the contract from a regional area except the aged care. So if your skills assessment is into the aged care registered nurse, then your job contract can be from Western Australia metropolitan city also. So now in saying that, let's say you have got a skills assessment as a mental health nurse or a NEC or anything, we would highly recommend to get another skills assessment as a registered nurse so that you have got a more relaxed requirement of a job offer from the metropolitan area. In addition to that, the job offer can be in the closely related occupation. So if your nominated occupation in which you have been invited is a registered nurse aged care, but your job offer is as a registered nurse NEC or general or mental health or anything, that's fine because they are considered as closely related. So you don't have to worry about having the job offer in the aged care for the next 12 months, just in case you are only meeting the requirement for the skills assessment. This was all the requirements for the Schedule 1 occupation list. Now I will go up to the Schedule 2 occupation list. This is the new list that has been added, and the applicants who are interstate can also access this list. The requirement for this occupation is that it has got quite a few of an occupations. There's no experience required to be eligible for a state nomination. As long as you have got a skills assessment and have got minimum 65 points on your points test table, you are eligible to apply. There's a requirement of 7 each in English if your occupation is professional, which is from NSchool level 1 or 2. Most of the major occupations like an accountant, all the engineering or the IT, they all come under the professional occupation or managerial occupations. For them, it is compulsory to have 7 each in English. Additionally, all the applicants would also need a job contract for 12 months for the next 12 months. The contract does not need to be that you must be working in that field. It is from the next future contract for the next 3 months or upon the grant of the visa. You do not necessarily need to move to Western Australia to be eligible for the state nomination. However, you would still need a job offer in your nominated occupation. The offer that you need can also be in a closely related occupation. Again, the closely related means that it must fall under the same end scope with the first 4 digits as the same. The last 2 digits can be different. For example, your skills assessment is in a software engineer, but you have been offered a position of a software tester. That's fine because they both are the closely related occupations. They fall under the same NSchool mother code. For example, you are a developer programmer. Your occupation is in a developer programmer, but your job offer is an analyst. That's again fine. So as long as it's closely related, that's fine. There's an additional requirement for this, that person must be living in Australia. So you would be asked to provide the additional requirements that to prove that you are living in Australia. That could be a lease document, that could be a utility bill, anywhere in Australia. This does not need to be living in Western Australia. So if you are from a New South Wales and you have got a job offer from Western Australia, your occupation is in the Schedule 2 list, you are eligible to apply for the state nomination. Popular occupations that has been added into this list are majorly the accountant, IT occupations, majorly most of the IT occupations, which also includes the web developer or the hardware technician or a software tester, which is good, which I haven't seen in any other state nomination requirements. And I'm all talking about, this is all about the 190 visa or the 491. There is no separate requirement for a 190 or 491. The requirements are exactly the same. It's just that For a 491, if you lodge an expression of interest, you will be having more 10 extra points as compared to the 190. Other major occupations which are in this list are the engineering occupations, and there are heaps of trade occupations. Those are pastry cook, chef, wall and floor tiler, cabinet maker, bricklayer, baker, carpenter, joiner, fitter, tuner, glazier, and many more. So if you are a trade, automotive, motor mechanic, technician, there are a lot of occupations in this list. Because these trade occupations are ENSCO level 3, you do not need to have a 7 each in English if you are from one of the trade occupations. If you are a 7, if you are into the professional occupation or managerial occupation, you need 7 each in English. There are few occupations like hotel and motel manager, event and conference organizer, cafe or restaurant manager. If you have got a skills assessment in these occupations, you are living in Australia, you have got 7 each, because these are professional occupations, you are eligible to apply. And I would highly recommend that if you have already got your required English and have got your skills assessment, must not delay in lodging the expression of interest. Okay, now I will be going to the third list, which is the graduate list. For this list, only the people who have studied in Western Australia are eligible to apply. This list is that they must have studied for 2 years. The English requirement for the professional or managerial occupations is 7, and English requirement for the trade occupation is not 7. You need to have minimum 6 each in order to lodge your expression of interest. The priority in these applications or from this stream will be given to the people. If your occupation is from the vocational education, then the highest qualification obtained should be advanced diploma. Or if you are from a professional list, then it is the master's degree or the PhD. They would be given the first priority when you are given the invitation from the state. The application process goes as per that you lodge an expression of interest and then wait for the state government to look into your expression of interest and choose it from there. For a graduate list, if your occupation is from graduate list, the first priority will be given to the people who have highest qualification obtained in Western Australia, either as a PhD or master's degree, or have obtained advanced diploma for the vocational qualification. This must be done in Western Australia, as this is from the graduate list. As we come down, the master's list has got the bachelor's honors, then the bachelor's. However, in the other one, it comes down to the diploma, then the certificate 4, then certificate 3, and even 2 years of an English is also considered as 2 years of study in Western Australia. So for a graduate list, the priority of choosing up the application would still remain the same on the basis of highest qualifications achieved in Western Australia. In the general stream, it would be more or less on the basis of more or less on the basis of the merits. The department has not announced that on what basis they will be inviting those applications or who will be prioritized first. But generally, looking into the previous ones, it could be on the basis of highest points achieved, or on the basis of your English, or on the basis of an experience. This can be first, second, third. We need to wait from the department, but this does not stop you from lodging your expression of interest. Whether you are at 65 points or you are at 95 points, you must lodge your expression of interest as soon as possible. As you will lodge your expression of interest, that could be also one of the criteria of being picked up by the state government when they are inviting. The invitation rounds are being done at the third week of each month. So anything between the third week of July, generally on Thursdays, we have seen that we do receive the invites. State government, WA state government has been allocated the quota of 1100 uh, seats to be allocated for 190 state nomination, and 350 for the 491 has been allocated. So this May can finish before end of the financial year, or can go all up to the end of financial year, or can be by in next 3 months, 6 months, this can finish also, because this quota, it depends upon how many invites are we receiving each month, under which stream. They may divide, the majority of streams will go into the general, and 25 will be from the graduate, or 50% of the invites will be from general, or 50% from the graduate. This information is yet to be announced. Earlier, the 75 until the last financial year, which was 30th of June 2021, 75% of the invites has gone to the masters or the professional education, and the 25% has gone on to the vocational. But this will remain the same or not, it is yet to be confirmed by state government yet. We have approached the WA state government with different queries, and we will inform you as and when we hear back from them. Now I will come back to the requirements of the job offer, which is one of the major requirement in all three criterias. From the occupation 1 and occupation schedule 1 and the schedule 2, the job offer requirement is for a 12-month of a contract. From a graduate stream, the job offer requirement is 6 months of an experience, 6 months of an experience, or 6 months of a full-time contract. So this is a relaxation given to the ones who have studied from WA, that they would be given they only need to provide 6 months of a contract, not the 12 months of a contract. The contract must be full-time, or can be provided by 2 different employers, which should include at least 35 hours per week. So if you have got one employer for a part-time contract of 20 hours per week, and you have got another one which is 15 hours, then you meet the requirement of 35 hours of a job contract that you need from Western Australia. The employer must be not the employer. Let's say, for example, your employer is from New South Wales, but the job that is specified that you would be undertaking is in Western Australia, then that's fine. It is not necessary that your employer must be from Western Australia, but the location of job which you will be undertaking must be from Western Australia. For example, I give you the example of telecommunication engineer, or maybe any other engineer, where there's a fixed term contract for the next 12 months. The company is from New South Wales. However, the applicant has to come to Western Australia and work as under another company, which is where the contract has been given to the major company in New South Wales. You're fine as long as your location where the task will be carried out is Western Australia. That's fine, even if your company is registered in any other state in Australia. Another requirement is that the amount that must be specified, the money that is being offered in the job contract must be a market salary rate, which means that if the employer is offering you a position of engineer and he's only offering you $39,000, $40,000, $41,000, this is not enough as a market salary rate. They must be as per the professional engineer rate, one, or as per the Fair Works Guide, whatever is for the graduate engineers or the graduate applicants, that must be offered, so that there is no exploitation for the foreign nationals. So this is from me about all the state nomination requirements from Western Australia. And if you have got any queries for anything, please contact us. Do we have?
Yes, we have questions.
Yeah. Sure. If you have got any questions, please write it in this one, and then I'll be taking those queries further.
The first question is from Naveen. Can office be located in Melbourne with farm in WA?
Yes, and Naveen, it depends upon your nominated occupation also. Looks like your occupation might be an agriculture consultant or a farmer or anything, mixed crop farmer and all. As long as the work carried by you is in Western Australia, which in case sounds like it would be, then yes. You need to, when the application is being processed, you need to provide the evidence of this one, that even if your company is located in interstate, how the work will be carried out here. So there might be any office here, or there's the location of the farm, and then the pictures of the farm and the work description, how will you carry it out here. That all needs to be specified in the contract.
The next question is from Ms. Charles Shah. How much experience do we need for work permit in Australia?
Work permit. Michelle, I think your question is about the work visa. If it is so, then okay, I'll quickly tell that generally for a 482 visa, the minimum requirement is 2 years. If that's your question. Otherwise, for a WA state nomination, under the Schedule 1 list needs 1 year of an Australian experience or 3 years of an offshore experience. For a Schedule 2 or a graduate list, no experience is required.
Next question is from Atum. He's asking, I'm in Adelaide, work as a software developer. Can I apply job with 491? I got skills assessment as a software engineer 5 points.
Yes, you are definitely eligible to apply because you have got your assessment as a software engineer. You must apply for your expression of interest. Once, because you are living in Australia, and I guess if you have got a 7 each in English, you are eligible. Once you are invited, when you are lodging an expression of interest, you do not need to provide a job offer letter. Once you are invited by the state government, then you have got another 28 days to provide them the job offer from Western Australia.
What are the chances for accountant?
Yes, accountant is on the list and it is considered as open. And as long as you have got a skills assessment, you have lodged your expression of interest, you can find a job offer in Australia, there are the high chances of getting an invite.
Nupur Raval, what about recruitment consultant?
Nupur, recruitment consultant is not on any of the list of Schedule 1, Schedule 2 or graduate list. So unfortunately, your occupation is not in these lists and not eligible.
Does ECT is only applicable to regional area of Perth?
What's its ECT, electronics and communication technician are you talking about? Can you explain me what do you mean by ECT?
Roshan, will you be able to elaborate your question, and we'll get to it shortly. Thank you. Next question is from Najim. Student visa holders eligible to get full-time contract?
Yes, if you are working as if you are a student visa holder, you can get the conditional contract that it will come into an effect upon grant of your permanent residency, because you do not have to start working unless until your residency is granted. So you can have a conditional contract of a future that it will only come into an effect upon grant of the residency.
Ata, is the earth science technician is in new list for WA?
I don't really think so that the earth science technician is in this list.
Life
No.
Science.
No, it's not.
Hello, who is eligible to apply for 190 surplus?
Anyone living in Western Australia whose occupation is in the Schedule 1 or Schedule 2 list are eligible. If your occupation is in the graduate list, then you must have studied in Western Australia for 2 years.
Samod Ishani, offshore applications who studied in Perth 2 years from accounting any possibility?
Unfortunately not. Until pre-COVID, WA was inviting the applicants who have studied in WA earlier and currently residing in offshore were also eligible. However, because of COVID, they have restricted the applications to the state nominations only to the applicants living in Australia and should not be Section 48 bar also. So if you are even Section 48 bar, you should not apply for an expression of interest as for state nomination. You are not eligible.
Preeti Nair, I have 4 years of experience as credit risk analyst. Will I get PR?
It depends upon your skills assessment. Credit risk analyst is not on any of these ones. You need to get the skills assessment based on your education, and then further, if it's on the list, then you will be eligible.
Rohan Chauhan, for IT sector, how do one get a job offer from Australian companies now? With the international borders closed, none of the companies are entertaining job applications from earlier. I think he's offshore.
Looks, it seems that you are an offshore. The state nomination is not open for the offshore candidates, so you have to wait until the offshore requirements are uplifted and it is being given to the offshore candidates also.
Veera Palapotu, system analyst.
System analyst, I guess it is in the list, and system administrator is in the list, and which is the highly relevant one, and then you can go ahead if you have got a skills assessment for that, because if you're system analyst, you can look into the closely related, get your skills assessment into the one from WA list and can go ahead with that.
Piku Chetri, can you please talk about future job contract?
Future job contract is a conditional job offer. Let's say that you are working, that you are currently not in Western Australia, or you do not hold the full-time work rights. Then your job cannot, then the job which is offered to you cannot come into an effect immediately. So for this one, your employer can write that we are offering you the position, but the start date will be upon grant of the permanent residency. If you have an employer who is happy to give you a job offer, we can provide you the sample for those ones that what does it need as per the state requirements.
Another LinkedIn user, what is the job situation in Melbourne at the moment?
Sorry, this is not my expertise. You need to get in touch with any recruitment consultant in your state. Thank you.
Karishma, do we need to do job ready program?
Skills assessment is must. There's no such things that you do not need a skills assessment. If you are a trade occupation, let's say, for example, you are a chef or a cook or any of those ones, then if you don't have a skills assessment, you can't lodge an expression of interest. So these new requirements does not say that you do not need a skills assessment. Because job ready program gives you a skills assessment, you have to undergo that one.
Harmanjot Kaur, I did Master of Cybersecurity. Is it possible for 190 visa will be granted if I work as IT support officer?
Firstly, Harman, you need your skills assessment. With an IT support officer, what skills assessment will you get? You need a skills assessment as an ICT security specialist, or probably as an ICT, as an NEC for an ICT security, right? If you go into those ones, which you can either do through the PY or having a 1 year of an experience. If your experience is as a support officer but not into the security, you will not be able to get the skills assessment which is in the WA list. So the first thing which everybody has to look into what their skills assessment is. Skills assessment is mandatory. Skills assessment is the most important thing. If you can get your skills assessment as per an occupation in the WA Schedule 2 list, then you meet the requirement. So for you also, Harman, if your ICT support desk is not giving you a skills assessment, then you should go towards the professional year so that you get the skills assessment from a WA list, and then you would need further a job offer to be invited for 190.
Kuntesh Patel, what about family sponsor visa?
Family sponsored visa requirements 491 is exactly the same. You lodge your expression of interest and you wait from the department, from the federal government. Those are not issued by the state government. The federal invites, the quota has been reduced to 6,500, which is same like last financial year, where they have given the invites every quarterly, which is every 3 months there was a round for those ones. So the chances are quite less, but depending upon an occupation also, all the health related occupations for the 491 has been invited at the very low points. However, the higher points ones are still waiting.
Are you guys applying for companies directly by Rohan?
Are you talking about the job offer? Then definitely not. This is a breach of our code of conduct. The job offers are to be organized, not organized. You need to have a job offer from an Western Australian employer.
Ruchi Hardik Patel, what are the chances of chef at 75? So 70 on her own and 5 points from 190 for 190 visas on the
Ruchi, if you are a graduate from Western Australia, then I would highly recommend to do a advanced diploma in your nominated occupation. If you are not a graduate, at 70 points, you must lodge the expression of interest. The chances it all depends upon what will be the points of the other candidates also. Or once WA state government will give us a criteria that what will be the merits of this one. Are the points going to be the merits, or highest qualification obtained in Australia would be the criteria of the first occupation.
Ravi, okay, thanks. Any chance for overseas applicants?
Sorry, it's closed for the overseas applications. Yeah, as of now.
Pooja Vaidyanathan, do we need to move to WA for 190?
No, you do not have to move to WA. As long as you are living in Australia, you can prove that you are living in Australia and you are meeting rest of the requirements of the skills assessment and the job offer, then you do not have to. If you're finding difficulty in finding a job without moving, then you have to, but this is not the state nomination criteria.
Rahul Gava, please explain the chances for accountant with 3 years of experience and can get a job offer letter from WA, but do we have to do labor market testing?
No, you do not have to. This is not an employer-sponsored visa. This is just a state nomination. If you have an employer who is happy to offer you a letter and you have lost your expression of interest as an accountant, you have a high chances. You must get in touch.
Arman Joe, I did Master of Cybersecurity from the 80 points. Is it possible 190 visa would be granted if I work as IT support officer?
You do not need any experience. You can be eligible under the graduate stream also, and you would just need the job offer provided you have got a skills assessment. Have you done your professional year, Harman?
Harman, if you can just answer if you have done EY or not in the comment section. Thank you. Ravi Aurora, I have 90 plus 5 points, so 95 points from New South Wales. Am I eligible for WA nomination? Only 5 months experience in closely related occupation. My occupation is computer networks and system engineer. Please comment.
Computer network and systems engineer is not in the WA occupation list for a schedule 2. So if you have not studied from WA, then you are not eligible. You need to look into the closely related occupation from the WA list and have to get your skills assessment done again, and then you can go with it.
Neha Chaudhary, hi Preeti, what are the chances to get 190 as a business analyst in 70 months?
Business analyst is not on the list.
Sergeant Shrestha, I'm working as a developer here in Melbourne. Do I need to have a contract in WA or any other place? Am I eligible to apply?
Yes, you need to have a contract in Western Australia after you have been invited. So if you have got a skills assessment, you must lodge the expression of interest now and wait for the WA government to invite you. Once invited, then you need to give them the contract. But for lodging an expression of interest, you do not need a contract.
Piku Chetri, can it be future contract?
Yes, it can be a future contract. It does not need to be coming into an effect in next 1 month, 2 months, or 1 year.
Sukyu Wali, my occupation is computer system engineer, already working assessment done 2.5 years as network administrator. Currently residing in New South Wales, EOI New South Wales 190 with 90 points.
Okay. Computer network systems engineer and network administrator is only in the graduate list of Western Australia, not in the Schedule 2. So if you want to come to Western Australia, you need to study here for 2 years. Otherwise, you should look into getting your skills assessment done again in one of the IT occupations in the Schedule 2 list. Then you don't have to move and you would need a contract, 12 months contract from Western Australia.
Kundesh is asking, what about family sponsorship?
Yep, yeah. So family sponsored is on the basis of highest points, 95 to 100 points, and the quota is very less, so you need to wait as the invites are once in 3 months.
Is system analyst on the list? I think you already answered.
Yeah, yeah.
When we can lodge EOIs, are they already open or yet?
It's already open since yesterday, and a lot of EOIs has already been done. If you're looking forward for lodging your EOI, again, folks, I would like to emphasize on this one. I know lodging an EOI, everyone says it's easy, there are just few questions, we lodge an EOI, it's done and dusted. But then after 1 month of 2 months, once the 2 or 3 rounds have gone, people do come to us and say, my friends have got exactly the same points. He or she has been or has got a lesser points. She or he has been invited and not me. And then we looked into an EOI and there's always one small little thing for which they have not been invited. And by the time we change that EOI, that occupation has already closed. So when the state government is going to invite you, they are only going to invite you on the grounds of your EOI. Your EOI must be lodged professionally, or you should have a thorough knowledge of all the aspects what the state is going to look into when lodging an EOI. For example, it is a very small thing that once they look into an highest qualification obtained, it is the advanced diploma. And we have seen the people who have done an advanced diploma still were not invited, because when they lodge an expression of interest, they put it into the last. However, it should be lodged as the first qualification obtained. So there are so many small little things which, if I have done my bachelor's and master's, I'll put my bachelor's first or the master's, and then it goes other way around, and I will not be invited for the first couple of rounds, because this is being automatically being picked up by the system. So there are so many small little things when you're lodging an EOI that's done correctly, but not in the way in which WA government is going to pick it up. We highly recommend you must take a professional advice when you're lodging your EOI.
Rohit Sharma, I am offshore and I'm applying for into nomination chef in January, but didn't receive any update.
You need to either follow up with the department or need to wait, or you can follow up with your agent.
Aarti, I am working as a laboratory technician in New South Wales since last 2.5 years. So what are the chances of getting invitation and how what's needed?
Aarti, I don't think so. Laboratory technician is in the WA occupation list. Let me just double check. No, life science technician is there, but not the laboratory technician. So you need to have a skills assessment into an occupation which is in the WA list under the general stream.
Any openings for finance and accounting from Mahesh?
Finance manager is in the graduate list and accountant is in the general list, and they are open.
Tanu, what's the scope for chef? I am in Melbourne at the moment, have my skill assessment done and 2 years of experience. What IELTS score needed and advance?
There's a minimum requirement of 6 each in IELTS because this is a trade occupation. You do not need a 7 each in English or above. You must lodge an EOI, and it seems you are meeting the requirement.
So anyone who wants to get further information, they can click the form that's given in the description, and then we'll contact them.
Yeah. So if you want us to lodge your expression of interest, or you have got further information or further queries, please click on the form which is there in the description, and we will get in touch with you very soon, as the team is working 24/7 to work on these applications, because this quota is not going to last for very long. So everyone needs to act on this very fast.
Next question from Ray, right? Working as a graduate accountant in WA and graduate from here as well, what do you think, how much point is enough to get an application for an account?
Okay, Mahesh, what you should be doing
Ray.
Huh?
Ray.
Sorry, hi, is Ray, what you should be doing is, because you are eligible from a general stream as well as from the graduate stream, you must get your skills assessment done as a finance manager also, and lodge another expression of interest, as the chances of getting the finance manager invite at the lower points would be, we could see that one, because accountant, you are going to compete with everybody within across Australia. However, with the finance manager, you would only be competing with the WA graduates. So we highly recommend you to lodge 2 different EOIs in this scenario.
What if there is no work experience?
There's no requirement of a work experience if that is not the requirement of your skills assessment. If your skills assessment needs the work experience, then you have to. There's no exemption for that. But for a WA state nomination, if you have a skills assessment, you do not need to have a work experience.
Naja, does regional contract need to be 1 year of schedule 190, or can it be 6 months contract?
1 year contract from a schedule 1.
Andy Walia, do we need to put and separate our EOI or separate ROI or EOI for 190 WA is suffice?
I didn't get your question, but there's no separate EOIs for any different occupation list. There's only one EOI that you need to log, and then for the 3 different occupations list, the state will look into it of its own.
Roshan Hindu, early childhood teacher?
Yes, that's in the WA list under the general stream. And early childhood teacher, if you have got your skills assessment, highly recommended, you must lodge, and then after getting an invite, you would need a 12-month contract.
He's again asking, is it only eligible for regional or both 190 and 400?
Early childhood is for regional. The contract needs to be from the regional area because it's regional only, but is eligible for 190 as well as for 491. So when you lodge your expression of interest, you can be invited for either, but your contract needs to be regional only.
Abhishek, once we get state sponsorship, how many years we need to stay back in Australia?
For a 190 visa, the requirement is that you must live in WA for 2 years. For a 491 visa, the requirement is you can be living in any regional area for 3 years. You do not need to be in WA regional. You can be anywhere in Australia, which is regional area.
Fahan, telecommunication network planner, is it eligible for 190?
Telecommunication network planner, no, it's not on the list. Yes, I'm pretty sure, but let me just double check for that. I'm sorry, yes, so network engineer is there and the telecommunication engineer is there, not the network planner.
Viresh Patel, can we apply as finance manager in WA?
Under the graduate list, it is, if you are graduated from Western Australia, you can apply as a finance manager and you would further need a 6 months of a contract or 6 months of an Australian experience to be eligible.
Man, 2 years experience in painting, what are the chances of WA by G2?
2 years experience in what's your study, because you need a skills assessment, and to get the skills assessment as a painter you need 3 years of an experience. With the 2 years of an experience you can only lodge the 482 visa, provided that's a full-time experience and you have got an employer.
Deepak Chauhan, we need skills assessment first to apply 190 as a chef.
Yes, skills assessment is mandatory for any nominated occupation. Skills assessment is something like a passport which you have to apply before even you wanted to move to any other country. So it's very, very important and a mandatory requirement to have a skills assessment. And once you have narrowed down what your skills assessment is, then only you can come into the occupation list and see whether your occupation is there or not.
Then can a job in banking, for example, credit analyst, be considered
to what?
Yes.
Yeah, closer banking job as a credit analyst, closely related to accountant? No.
If you can just clarify your question.
Yeah, with the nominated occupation. Yeah.
Aruna Kumar, can we move now to WA? What are the criteria to get 190 for accountants?
You do not need to move to WA. If you have already got the skills assessment, you can lodge your expression of interest now and can look for the job offer letter. Once invited, then only you need to give them the job offer letter, not before invitation. So to lodge an expression of interest, you do not need to move to WA. You must only be living in anywhere in Australia.
Ruchi Hardik, what about Section 48 bar? Is there any news about it?
Section 48 bar is not eligible to apply under any of these 3 lists. WA state nomination is not accepting the applications from the people who are Section 48 bar.
Pratiksha is a childhood educator is eligible for any visa if company wants to sponsor.
494 as a team leader in a childcare center or an educator, then you need to have a 3 years of an experience to be eligible to apply under that.
Positive skills assessment required.
Yes, positive skills assessment is must. How will you pick up an occupation if the assessment body has not said that this is your nominated occupation? That's the must requirement.
Archan Bhatt, hi ma'am, I have 7 each at the moment. I'm a business analyst. I will complete NATI as well. I'm in Melbourne currently. What are my chances for 190 for business analyst and for 491 families?
WA does not have a business analyst on the list, so nothing for here. For state nomination for 190 New South Wales, business analyst is on the priority list, so you could have the chances that you could be invited from there. 491, we haven't heard any invites from the last about 10 months for that.
What about motor mechanic from Aman?
Motor mechanic is in the WA list. You need to finish a job ready program. If you have already done that and you have got a skills assessment, just get in touch with us so that we can lodge your expression of interest, which is mandatory. If you are living in Australia, you are eligible.
Is our job offer should be in nominated field by all?
Your job offer need to be in nominated occupation or closely related. If your job offer is not into, let's say, for example, I'm a restaurant manager and my job is as a retail supervisor, it's not. It has to be nominated or closely related.
Vihangi Pereira, I'm currently a student working as an application analyst for WA company. 1 year offshore experience as ICT business analyst. They have offered a job as a software tester after November. Chance of getting an interview. Thank you.
Are you offshore? Seems you are offshore, is she?
I'm currently a student working as an application
Okay,
analyst.
yeah. If you have got skills assessment from the occupation list, then you are eligible. Yeah. Even if your job offer is starting in the future, you're still eligible as long as the employer is Western Australia. Please get in touch because seems there are few information that I still need to give you the exact criteria for you.
Yeah, there are a lot of questions, but we will only take few now, so everyone can drop their details in the link, description, and then we can contact.
Yes, please put your questions in the comment box or in the details in the description that we have provided, and our team will get in touch with you very soon. Please do that. We will not be able to take all the questions here.
Deepak, hi, for registered nurse in aged care 190 visa, do I need 1 year of experience and then after 1 year, 1 more year of contract?
Yes, that's correct. To get the permanent residency, so to be invited from the WA state government, you must have 1 year of an Australian experience to be invited. Once invited, you just only need to show you still have got a further 12 months of a contract. You should not have been working on that contract, have started working, or after 1 year you will be eligible. It's not like that. Once you show that you have got a further 1 year of an experience, a job contract, you will be fine. You do not have to finish that contract to be eligible.
Marife Clemente, is it possible to apply for state nomination while still studying diploma?
You need to have a skills assessment. So if you do not have a skills assessment, you cannot. And while studying, you cannot have a skills assessment because once you finish your study, you need to undergo a job ready program, and then you will get a skills assessment to be eligible. So still a bit a long way to go.
Satish, I got ICT support engineer skill assessment with 1 year work experience. Is any totally related skills in that?
ICT, which one?
ICT support engineer.
ICT support engineer, and try with the ICT security specialist. See if you could get that one. Yeah.
What about first class welder?
Welder, yes. Welder is in the list, yes. If you have got a job ready program, you have done that, or you have got a skills assessment on the basis of experience, please get in touch with us. I guess we will just stop taking the questions here now. Please provide, just give your queries in the description that we have, the link that we have given. And we will definitely get in touch with all of you. There will be none of the query which will be unattended. Please do that. And if you still want to book any appointment or see us, you can call at any of the offices in Western Australia or any other way you are. And we are there to help you in getting your permanent residency. Thank you so much for listening. We'll stay tuned, and we will keep giving you more information as we hear back from Western Australia for the further clarification of the queries that we have requested for. Thank you so much.